It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know.
News update.
This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag Utah Jazz.
I just feel like over the past couple of weeks, we've just been having a little bit more fun out there. And I feel like the ball is being popped around and we're sharing it. And when everybody's able to touch the ball and get shots here and there, then you get a little bit more effort on the defensive end. And you get guys running back just because they know, like, okay, next time down, I might get a shot.
Colin Sexton on the feeling around the team. And, of course, that's really been the feeling around lots of NBA teams and lots of basketball teams for years and decades. But, hey, he's in his 20s, so it's new to him.
What's he feeling?
When you get shots, then there's more energy on defense. Yes. Coaches have talked about that forever. Spread the ball around, get a guy involved, he'll play better on defense.
Well, why don't you play better on defense and then you have more energy on offense?
And coaches have tried to teach that to young guys, but
See,
the message doesn't always sink in.
Well, I think it's up to the crowd. That's why they need to chant offense
Offense.
instead of just
Offense.
constantly chanting defense. It sends a subliminal message, guys. We must cease. Offense.
The Jazz are hosting the Miami Heat tonight, a team they just beat on the road, part of a 3-game losing streak for the Heat that they snapped by beating the Warriors in the most recent outing. But they come in losing 3 of 4. Jimmy Butler's in the middle of that 7-game suspension. Opportunity for a win tonight, PK.
And it's understandable what Jimmy, who was a fan of Miami Heat. He had
he was.
front row seats just to the left
It
of
all
the basket.
it all comes together.
Jimmy Butler. Is it acceptable what he's doing?
Well, that depends on who you are, I suppose. In the player world, they never
Not to me.
they never seem to get upset when a player's like, well, this is business, and he's out there getting his money and getting what he wants. But he signed for a year and a half.
Well, what do you think?
No,
I think you need to be playing ball. This is your job.
Right. You sign the contract, play the games. You can opt out at the end of the season and go wherever you want. So just live up to the contract. This is old school stuff that used to happen all the time with the advent of free agency. It doesn't seem to happen very often.
It's what your papa and mama did. They lived up to the contract.
See, there you go.
Freddie J. I start going around Christmas. I give me more cash or forget it. I ain't playing the tuba.
He's getting near the end. He can walk next summer if he wants to opt out of 50.
If he
wants to opt out of
bidding
52
after him,
million. Yeah, that's really not how that works, as you well know. School districts are not bidding after teachers. We got the Grossmont District on line 2. We got the San Diego Unified District on line 3.
If you had only been his agent, he would have. If you had been older,
that'd work.
Because you are shrewd. I've been there.
Pre-game tonight at 6, tip-off at 7. You'll hear the game right here on The Zone. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NBA.
Giannis holds it, right side of the lane. He's got Paul doing jumping jacks around him. He's going to fade off 1 foot, and he knocks down the jumper.
Alvarado takes off and drives on Williams, bounces off of him. Ball hits off of his chest. He picks it back up, throws it into traffic, stolen by Williams. 3-on-1. Simons leads the pass to Abdiu, dunks it in.
Garland looking. Garland now dribbles to the top of the three-point arc. Backs up, 30 to go. Garland into the paint, floats, automatic! DG! Into the lane. He never misses.
The Cleveland Cavaliers at home beat the Oklahoma City Thunder in the showdown of the night, 129-122. A miserable shooting night for Donovan Mitchell, 3 of 16 for 11 points. But Evan Mobley and Jared Allen come through big time, and Cleveland gets the win. Missing Chet Holmgren there?
Yeah, but
a little more size and length.
If I were OKC, it was a competitive game virtually to the end, and I watched most of it. And Cleveland hit a couple shots there, and you're sitting there without your Stork over there, who's really good. I don't know what his timeline is for returning. It's a good game, good entertaining game. As just a fan of the game rather than individual teams, I enjoyed that game.
The rematch is a week from tonight. Cleveland will go to Oklahoma City, and they will play again on TNT. So you get another look at that, a potential NBA Finals matchup there.
if Holmgren, is he back for the postseason or is he out? I mean, I don't know what his deal is.
I don't know. I don't know how long he's going to be gone.
But, he's a nice player for them. So hopefully both teams are at full strength. If you told me right now these two teams are in the finals.
And you're going to play 6 or 7 games that look like that?
As a fan, I'm in.
Yeah.
I don't care this market, that market, what the TV rating is. None of that matters to me. As a fan, I would be very much interested in watching that series.
The Pelicans came through in a game that sounded a little winnable. They were playing Portland. Portland got the win. Pelicans take the loss, 119-100. New Orleans with the worst record in the West, sitting on 7 victories. So one of the teams Jazz fans need to keep an eye on in the Tankathon 2025.
I guess they're not going to have Zion go back-to-back because he didn't play. Denver
Nuggets beat the Clippers. They're 6 games over 500, but a little separated out from the elite in the West, sitting in the 4th spot. Bucks beat the Spurs 121-105. The San Antonio rebuild project continues, but no victories against Milwaukee. Spurs bouncing around 500 this year. Giannis with 25 points and 16 boards, and the Bucks get the win. I know they're former champs, but they're a 500 team themselves, aren't they? Not really believing in them against Cleveland or Boston in the playoffs.
Yeah, but that was 4 years ago.
Yep.
Now.
They've never gotten... I guess you got to get it when you have the chance and you're there because you don't know if that opportunity's coming around. They haven't been that close. The Orlando Magic, who've been hit with numerous injuries this year, are set to get their star forward Paolo Banchero back from a torn oblique. He's expected to play tonight or tomorrow after being out since October 30th with the injury. He had a 50-point game. 2 days later, he gets hurt, and he's been out since Halloween.
No joke.
DJ and PK.
Hashtag college basketball.
Tonight, UVU hosting Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon 11-4, 1-0 in league play. UVU 9-6, 1-0 in league play. Big game in Orem tonight, 6 o'clock. Southern Utah plays host to Tarleton State at 6, and Utah Tech welcomes UT Arlington to St. George. So, a little college hoops for you tonight.
All I got to say, man, is don't play them freshmen.
Don't do it.
No. If I'm Duke, I'd pretty much bench Cooper Flagg.
That a kid. Rutgers is playing tonight. If you want to scout them, they are hosting Purdue, 4 o'clock on FS1. So, an early game tonight. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NFL.
There's some people alleging that it was a purposeful letting get your ass
I ain't
kicked.
scared of nobody.
I'm not alleging this.
I wanted them in the
not
playoffs.
alleging this.
I want to slay every dragon one by one, like Mortal Kombat. I don't even want this to be like we play the lowest seed. Just give me the best teams.
I'm not, Travis. I'm just telling you what
AFC,
people are
NFC.
saying.
Give
I'm
me
not
all of
saying
them,
this.
Mortal
People-
Kombat style. I'll go through
people are
every one of them, just giving them my best effort. I ain't
People
scared
were
of a single
saying
soul, man.
You didn't want to see the Bengals in Burrowhead or in Cincinnati.
I'll play them at the Walmart parking lot. I don't give a we can have our own game in the offseason where we really duke it out again. I love competing against the greatest. The Bengals were a fun-ass team to watch there towards the end of the season.
That's the Kelsey brothers there, and Chiefs tight end Travis Kelsey addressing the thought that, hey, we'll just lose this game to Denver, knock Cincinnati out of the playoffs because we don't want to have to deal with Joe Burrow and the Bengals.
What's with all the swearing? Does he got to prove he's a tough guy?
Yep.
You're dating Taylor Swift. You're not that tough. I mean, come on. You're going overboard here. Why don't you get a big dog next?
Yeah, and a truck,
Jeez.
and a big hat. What else? Boots.
I don't think they were worried about who they were playing. I think they were resting guys.
Yep.
There are no dragons. If you're Kansas City, there are no dragons to slay.
You are the dragon. You are the dragon.
Yeah, so
Right.
cool to be fake tough and all, but everyone's looking at you.
49ers general manager John Lynch says the Niners are hoping to move quickly to secure a long-term extension with quarterback Brock Purdy. I think what we know about Brock is that he's our guy. We have interest in Brock being around here for a long, long time. He's done so much for our organization. Is he going to break the bank over $60 million or more? Leave him in a cap room? How much less is he willing to take?
You got to pay whatever the price is. Yeah. I mean, it's the way it goes.
Dak Prescott gets $60 million. I get $60 million. NFL's monitoring the wildfire situations in Southern California, but hoping to play the wild card game between the Vikings and Rams at SoFi Stadium on Monday night. If conditions force the game to be relocated, it will be played in Glendale, Arizona. DJ and PK.
Hashtag college football.
College football playoff semifinals begin tonight in the Orange Bowl as Notre Dame takes on Penn State. Kickoff 5:30 on ESPN. Winner to the championship game. Who's it gonna be? I suspect it'd be Penn State, but I'd prefer it to be Notre Dame.
Why do you think Penn State's better?
Just don't trust Notre Dame's ability to throw the ball. It's an inability to throw the ball, and at some point I think that's got to catch up with them here. They run it, and they run it really well, and their speed, man, it's awesome, but it just feels a little one-dimensional. At some point I think that catches up with them.
And Penn State's not one-dimensional?
Not to the same degree, I wouldn't think, no. I mean, I don't think either one of them are good enough to beat Ohio State when they get to the final. I watched the Ohio State-Penn State regular season game, a big chunk of it. Not that thrilled about a rematch. Don't think Penn State can do that, but
rematch,
it'll be what it'll be.
Whatever. We have that in all the other sports.
And we may get it here.
This is pro sports now.
Yep.
No, the rematch didn't bother me.
Who are you expecting to win tonight?
I'm going Notre Dame, man.
Irish.
They run the ball so well. We're the best running team out there this side of Air Force.
And they do run it well. DJ and PK.
Hashtag golf.
The Sony Open, the 60th edition, 60 years now in Hawaii. And they're at the Waialae Country Club once again on Oahu. Patrick Fishburne, the only local in the field. They get underway today. They're going to go low, aren't they? They usually go low on that course. Probably not as low as they went last week.
I mean, they go low on the entire western swing.
Yeah. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NHL.
Onto the ice in the high spot, a diving shot, and they score! Boquist bags it past Karel Vejmelka. Vlad Kolyachonok didn't have a stick, and it cost Utah. Cooley, side of the net. Cooley scores! Logan Cooley in the power play breaks through here in the third, and Utah has cut the lead in half. Puck on the near side, it's Boquist out to center towards the empty net. Oh, he scores! Bad luck by Utah, and what a play by Jesper Boquist. He gets his second goal of the game, and it makes it 3-1. I can't believe it.
And they added another empty netter. 4-1. The Panthers win. A scoreless first period. Man, that was as physical a game as they played in a while. Panthers were out there just decking guys left and right. And we watched it on TNT last night. They had the in between the periods, the crew's like, well, Utah's got to come out and they got to push back. They can't just keep taking this, but they can't come out and take a penalty either. And sure enough, they came out, took a penalty, gave up a power play, and they were chasing the game the rest of the night.
I don't watch in between, so I just watch the games. Yeah. I don't care what they have to say. I want to see the sport being played. I mean, I am tired of listening to people talk about sports.
The irony.
I thought they had their chances in the second period to get some on the board and maybe even get a lead, but it wasn't happening for them. And then the 2 goals at the end make it look worse than it was.
Yep.
Scoring margin doesn't really matter. What's the difference?
Vejmelka, yeah, they score 4 goals, but Vejmelka only allows 1 in at full strength. And Utah's goal was on the power play as well. Utah off today. Jazz will be playing the Heat tonight in the arena, and they're back on the ice tomorrow night at the Delta Center. San Jose, a little more manageable opponent from one end of the standings to the other.
Tomorrow is the halfway point. Now, some teams are already there, but for the hockey club, it is tomorrow. I think is their 41st game.
What is Trending is brought to you by Shamrock Plumbing. There's no job too big or too small. Get the personal touch with Shamrock Plumbing. Coming up, Ken Pomeroy is going to join us, owner of KenPom.com, college basketball analytics guru. He will join us at 8:30. Cole Bagley, Hockey Club insider for The Zone, at 9 o'clock. The question of the day is next. Stay with us.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
Oregon's undefeated regular season meant zilch. They might as well have taken a knee and lost to Boise. Who cares?
Why?
Ohio State, who's lost 2 games, including a brutal loss to Michigan, is alive, and Oregon, who is undefeated during the entire regular season, is not. Those games mean significantly less than they used to. Part of the magic of college football was every single darn game mattered if you wanted to win a national championship.
I'm not sure your argument holds up under the sense that if this was the BCS, Oregon would have been one of the teams that was automatically there.
Yeah, sweet. Great. They had an undefeated regular season. They should have been rewarded for that. They won more games than anybody else.
They were rewarded with a bye week. They had a bye.
Give me a break. If people are still arguing on social media that bye actually worked against them.
Hear Jake Scott and Ben Anderson every day from 10 to noon on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
DJ PK, the NHL is at the halfway point of the season. How much are you into the Utah Hockey Club? Daniel, meh. Probably would care more if I could afford tickets to actually watch a game.
How many Jazz games you go to? How many whatever you're a fan of do you go to? I mean, the folks who go to the game are just a small part of the base, aren't they?
Yes. Matthew, watched a couple of games on TV, followed the team's social media accounts, checked box scores regularly, attending our first game Saturday against the Islanders.
Yeah. That's a good one. That's plenty good to be in, doing all those things.
Brett, some of my friends really like it. I may eventually go to a game. I'm suffering through Utah hoops. I've tuned out of the Utah Jazz. I'm waiting for Utah football to start back up. Go Utes!
Oh, you got 9 months, man. We just got done.
Some more games. About that 30-game college football season I need. Brooke says, I love hockey. I've been following UHC in the standings. I went to a game with my sons. It was great. Don't know how soon I'll be going to another game, though. The tickets were very expensive. Thought they were supposedly going to be more affordable than the Jazz. Not even close to being affordable.
No, I have no idea what they're paying.
Everybody's definition of affordable is different.
Well, but affordable and expensive can be both. Well, just because they're affordable doesn't mean they're not expensive.
Not expensive.
If you're making more money or what have you, or the best of, you've inherited more money.
All right.
That's the best way to get rich. You do nothing. Born into it, like you were.
What?
Compared to me? Oh, I would have killed to be on your side of the tracks. Indoor plumbing?
You were in New Jersey in an outhouse.
Back in New Jersey.
So you can have both. You can have it affordable and be expensive. Which, yeah, tell me a sport that you go to that's cheap.
It's got to be minor leagues. That's.
Yeah. Some people paying to go to high school is a lot.
Yeah.
Depending on what your situation is. And so I don't scoff at that whatsoever. But I don't think that going to games defines your fandom.
Following the games, reading the box scores, listening to them on the radio, watch them on TV. There's lots of ways to follow it.
I mean,
These
I was
days,
a Dodger fan growing up. And when I moved to Phoenix, and we didn't have baseball, and I was used to having the Yankees and Mets on. Somebody was on TV literally every day with the two teams. And then I move out to the desert, and you just get the game of the week. And then about 15 years old, I discovered that they're on the radio. So I listen. I grew up my teen years listening to Vin and his guys, but I didn't go to a game until I was in my 20s. But it didn't
stop
take
you
away,
from being a fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they had that, what was it? Who was the guy? Benny something, you can give them $10 and they give you all these things and they don't advertise it. Sign up for the this or that, and I did. And you get the yearbook, and they send you stuff. So there's other ways.
So it's like some kind of fan club deal.
Yeah. What was his name? I can remember talking to Tom Hofarth about it because he grew up in the L.A. area, and he was a hardcore Dodger fan, and we both did that because, all the games weren't on TV back then. Now, where I lived, none of them were, but even in Southern California.
LA, right. They were televising home games in that era.
So you end up listening to the radio a lot. What was his name? I think his last name was Goodman, and it was like a fan club for kids, you know what I mean? And I did that. So just because you don't go to the games, a lot of people can't. They literally can't afford them, or they've got to work or whatever, and they got lives to live. Man, it's hard to be able to go.
And you got to get them and go to work, and the TNT game starts after 8 o'clock and finishes about 11.
Yeah, and I was a hardcore baseball fan growing up back east, and I didn't root for the teams, Yankees and Mets, but I could tell you everything about them. I could tell you everything about the Knicks, everything. I mean, they were on TV. I think the Knicks games were on TV, the home games too. But if I went to 3 games a year, that was a lot because it was somebody else had tickets or what have you, and you get to go. And I had this enormous family with my father having 7 siblings and my mother having 9. So and they knew I was almost from birth. You wonder how you end up being a sports fan, how some guys aren't and some guys are. How does that work? I was drawn to it from the earliest ages.
I was drawn to it at such an early age, I don't know how it works. As far as I know, I just always loved watching games. My dad was watching games. I was watching games.
But playing, too. It wasn't just watching.
I don't really remember a time that I didn't have. I do remember that we got a basketball hoop in our driveway when I was in the 3rd grade. But I don't remember a time that I didn't have a baseball glove or a football or a baseball or a bat.
You had one in the crib, man. You were bouncing it off the wall.
That seems unlikely due to the stringent safety standards of the Sniggledorfs. But nonetheless, your point is taken at a very early age. You were asking about how much are tickets, and I just looked them up while you were talking there.
Of course, you're always looking up stuff while
I know,
I'm
and this was perfect.
And I'm surprised you even paid attention this time.
Well, once in a while. You can get the most expensive ticket on StubHub for the San Jose game, the next game, which might be a little less expensive. I mean, Florida's the defending Stanley Cup champs, and the Sharks are at the bottom of the standings. But the next game, $455 to sit behind the goal is the most expensive ticket I see. In the lower bowl, I see tickets for $113 and $92. Now, he said his sons, does he have to buy 4 and keep it even because he has 3 boys? I don't know how many tickets
you
need.
Just take your favorite kid.
All right. Who's my favorite? Who's going to be good today?
Who's your favorite kid? Well, you have one, so quit lying.
Oh, you can rotate through them, too. In the upper bowl, there's some expensive stuff in the upper bowl. That may be a luxury suite. I can't read this properly. But there's tickets under $100 in the upper bowl. Here's 44, 47, 58. There's a couple in the 30s. Now there's fees on top of this, so you're not really getting out of there for $36.
No, it's the fees.
You do this stuff. How high are the fees? If you see 36, did you assume 50? How much are they piling on?
I've never purchased a sporting event through that.
Man, but you've done concerts. I assume the fees are the same.
I don't know if they are.
Oh, okay.
I don't assume anything. When you're trained at the foot of Walter
there
Cronkite,
it is.
you
right.
assume nothing as a fact until you verify it. So I don't know if they're the same. They can be anywhere from 50 to 100. You think Marketing and Hardy paid that much?
No, I don't think they paid a thing. I think they just walked in and said, "Hi, I'm Will Hardy."
It's amazing. People who are rich don't have to pay stuff. It doesn't make any sense. That's the way it is. Thank you, Walter. Yeah. So, Hatback was giving an interview.
Yep.
Had the hat straight. Had the gear on. Exciting times. But people can figure out what they can afford. But that doesn't mean that you're not a fan. Good for you if you can go to the game. I mean, I was talking to a friend the other night who was at the Jazz game, and he was there entertaining clients. Are they fans? Come on. It's a business prop.
Yep.
So I'm more of the people who don't go to games but are still into it. And I think it's got a solid fan base. And as far as following it, I don't really think that takes a lot. You watch, by game 20, you got an idea who the guys are. And then you got a decent little foundation. And then you can build it up from there. So I think it's fairly easy.
Learn a little bit here, learn a little bit there.
Yeah.
Watch the interviews, listen to the interviews.
Yeah, you can read stuff.
Coach will teach you stuff about how he wants them to play the game as he talks.
You know who the people are. So it's easy to get attached to them, I think. You don't have to be an expert on how to play the game and all this stuff. And then that's for the folks the people who do it for a living, and then the wannabe media members who think they are way into it, and so they know. Good for them. But you can it doesn't take that long to get involved. I mean, I can name you the guys.
David, not a fan. No clue how to watch them. ESPN Plus is always blacked out.
It is.
They protect the local broadcasts. Unless it's an ESPN Plus exclusive.
Yeah. I mean, that sucks.
Adam says, I love it. I've been twice. I have an over-the-air antenna and Dish Network adapter so I can record games. I watch them all.
Good. Yeah, I didn't realize they weren't on Comcast till you told me that they weren't.
Right.
I don't understand that. I don't know why.
The station they're on isn't carried by Comcast. They don't have a deal for whatever reason.
But get one.
There's either that or the contract will be up soon enough, and we'll see. I think every station in the market's going to bid for them.
I see what you're doing there. All right, now it's making sense.
Excuse me.
Every station in the market's going to bid for them.
There's a certain
I don't think BYU
entity
TV is going to bid it for him, so I would disagree on that.
The 4 over-the-air stations in the market, the main 4 are going to bid for them.
Well, you decide who the main 4 are?
I did.
Granted you power to be deciding that. I watch BYU TV, BYU Sports Nation. It airs at 1 o'clock Eastern.
I don't think the PBS stations are going to try to carry the games.
Well, but you said the over-the-air stations, and I take you for what the words mean.
Your Fox, your NBC, your CBS, and your ABC. I think we're all going to be looking for opportunities.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, so Hatback going to make more money?
Seems likely.
Nice.
Seems likely.
That's what he needs.
Remember when I told you once about if you want that, you better have leverage. Have another offer.
So he's going to have 4 bidders?
That's my expectation.
When's it up?
He will. I've been told 2 different things, so I don't know. I think it's up based on who told me different things. I think it's up at the end of the season, but it might be another year.
So whatever they have could change.
They had to carry over their deal that they had in Arizona with that company because that company has a station here also.
I understand that.
So,
although they could go back to that.
They could. That's one of.
I would like to see it beyond for folks who
bidders.
have Comcast. I'd like to see it beyond and have that exposure to that. It's so difficult for me to grasp that you have a local team and I have a local cable company or whatever, and I don't get it. I can literally live right across the street, and I don't get it. I don't get that you can't get it. That boggles the old mind as to why that is. So whatever they do, I hope that it's available for everybody who wants to watch it. And if this guy here buys an ESPN Plus subscription and then can't get it and wants to watch it, that stinks.
The over-the-air antenna can provide a lot of sports because it'll give you all the hockey games, it'll give you all the Jazz games, tons of NFL and college football. There's actually quite a bit of sports out there for free if you have one of those. Not everything you want.
For free. You got to buy a television. You got to buy
the antenna.
And then you got to have an engineering degree to figure out how to use the antenna.
Or a neighbor with an engineering degree like you.
I mean, how do you do that? You get an over-the-air spiel.
I assume it comes with directions, but I don't know because I don't have it.
As a guy who's done it before, it does have instructions with it.
Yeah,
there it is.
And if you're inclined to do that, it's easy. How many times have I heard, oh, it's easy? Yeah, it's easy for you.
Yeah, I know, but it's not for all of us.
For the low fee of...
That's like, yeah.
Yuck, you got a consulting company? You can come on. Yuck could swing by.
He's in the traffic world now. Leave him alone.
Excuse me.
That's like, does your dog bite? Well, no. Well, of course he doesn't bite you. So, oh, it's so simple. It's easy. Yeah, it is for you. I mean, it is for other folks. And where do you get this over-the-air antenna? It's not as easy as it seems, and you don't even have one, so how the crap would you know?
I bought mine at Walmart.
Walmart. I've been told RC Willie has them. I think you can call around. You can find him.
Really?
Yep.
That means you got to have a phone. You just all these assumptions of the privileged.
Mm-hmm.
The affluent. Just, again, the affluent telling us that life is so simple.
Use the landline.
Isn't that ironic?
Use the landline at work.
I don't have a landline.
At work.
Oh, I don't know. I never used a phone here. You got to dial this one, and then boom. Next thing you know, you're dialing some number they don't want, and they catch it, and they fire you. I'm not going to risk it.
Yeah, things fell apart for you pretty quickly there.
Could happen.
It was an ugly scenario.
Right. And all of a sudden, you find yourself in a trap? Whew, bad news. Well, I look forward to that hockey night with David James. Did you go over to the arena and found that people really like it and you can do this?
No, I already
Is it time for a manifesto?
I already knew it.
I'm off next week, and so if you want, and then I won't be there to interrupt you.
You're not going to be off next week. You already told me.
Hockey night with the Snigs. I like it, man. Whose job you after now?
Nobody's. It's not going to happen. You're just making stuff up.
We never thought you would be the voice of RSL, but yet you are.
Yeah, that's true.
And you ramrodded people and pushed them the crap out of the way to get it.
It's not exactly how it happened.
Depending on who you talk to, you just said, I've talked to 2 different sources. So I think, depending on who you talk to, I think that is true.
Yeah.
I just quoted you.
Dan quit and moved to Portland. There's the story.
Dan who?
You know who.
Well, that'll be cool. I hope it gets available, whatever they decide. Because I think it's important. It's a community asset, and
it makes it available to a broader community.
Yeah, and then I just think the community, then it's looked upon, wow, that's Salt Lake City area, man. That's a big-time sports area. And who knows, as the Millers try to get the MLB. I think all that stuff helps. That you get excited about it. And I think there's enough folks here that aren't from California that can be fans of here. Like, we know with the Jazz, there's so many Californians, and oh my gosh, they love their Lakers, they love their Dodgers, and those types of things.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll always be there. But I think that those folks, like for instance, my sisters, they moved to Arizona in their 20s, a long time ago now, but their kids are born in the Valley.
They don't have the Jersey thing.
No.
Arizona's their home state.
A little bit of an attitude. You can't help it. But in terms of their allegiances,
it's to the Phoenix teams.
Yeah. So I think we have that here. So as you go forward,
the first generation moves to town and they bring their Dodger, Laker, Warrior, whatever fandom to town.
Yeah.
And then the next generation, more likely to root for the local team.
Yeah, in Arizona, it's more widespread. You'll have the Steelers or the Bears or like the freaking Cubs in spring training. Oh, my gosh.
They pack the place.
I mean, it's just trying to get a Cubs ticket in spring training. You got to plan the second they come out. So, but I don't know that we have that here as much because people don't come to Utah, or at least this area, to live in warm weather.
I was surprised because I was at when the Calgary Flames came to town. I was surprised how many Calgary fans. I would say there were at least 1,000 Calgary fans, easy to identify, standing up cheering, wearing the team sweater jersey, and There may have been more. Maybe not everybody was decked out, but I mean, there were. It was stunning. I mean, Calgary scored, and it was pretty loud.
But doesn't some of those places in Canada, don't they have a higher level of LDS people?
Calgary for sure.
That might be inclined to move here or go to school here.
Southern Alberta has got a heavy LDS population.
Is that what it is? That's what I thought. Yeah. I thought I'd heard that somewhere along
We got
the
a guy
line.
here, Scotty. I'll be way into the Utah Hockey Club when my St. Louis Blues come to town next week.
Yeah, but that's okay. Their money counts just as well.
It does.
Yeah. I mean, you don't want a high preponderance of it. Then it gets awkward.
Yeah.
But I don't think we'll have that. And in future generations, we won't have that. So from my perspective, it seems like it's going well. And it doesn't take long to figure out when you start throwing out 20 years old, 21 years old, all these young dudes, and they're already there making an impact in this league. It doesn't take long to figure out, hey, 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, where does this trend over 5 years?
You know, this team's got a shot to be competitive. I mean, they're already competitive, but I mean being really competitive to make a run at the thing. And having been in Las Vegas a number of times for other reasons when the Knights were doing their thing, it was incredible to see people, how jacked they were. Now, I think, you know, that Vegas folks were so starved for big time. And that was their first
taste of
really
it.
Local, where we've had college football at the highest levels, and we've had the Jazz at the highest level. So I don't think we're as starved for it. But everybody loves a winner in every sport. It doesn't matter what it is.
That was their first one. Then they got the Raiders, and now 3 years away from getting MLB.
Yeah, and hockey, it may not be to the. So they just assume they're in the Western Conference Finals. And they'll get there at some point with 3 to 5 years or whatever it might be. And then the town will just be electric for it. My sister, after she got out of college, stayed back in the southern part of New Jersey, which is the suburbs of Philadelphia. And if you remember, if you do the timeline, the Flyers were really hot. And she said that's all everybody talked about when they were having the Broad Street Bullies and all those guys doing their thing. And it just really captured the community. It may not be the level of the Jazz, but I think it'd be pretty close.
DJ PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Big game tonight. What to expect from the national semifinal? That is next. And we're talking Utes at 8 o'clock right here on The Zone.
Accessing. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G.
Bill Armstrong kind enough to join us. When they got out to a hot start, you said, hey, this might be a little bit more than where we're at. And then when you lose a few, you're like, this isn't who we are either. Is this kind of where you expected your team to be at this point in the season?
This is exactly where I expected us to be. Right in the hunt, right in the thick of things, with a great schedule in front of us. And the thing that we look forward to on the inside is that we haven't really had our whole team on the ice together. You know, Jersey's been injured, Marino's been injured, Ingram's out now, along with Lamoureux and Bortuzzo. So we really haven't had our best lineup on that ice. And that's what I look forward to coming down the stretch, is when we need to have our best on that ice, we have a chance. Guys are coming back from being injured, and it's going to be exciting times for us just to see everybody on that ice and see how good we can be in the big moments down the stretch.
Catch Hans and Scotty weekdays from noon to 3 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The band of the day today is the Dave Matthews Band. Founder Dave Matthews celebrates his 57th birthday. It's brought to you by Live Nation. For all the live concerts and events in 2025, check out livenation.com.
Where are you going?
Going to watch the college football game tonight. Notre Dame and Penn State national semifinal. What do you want to see?
I am no hero, that's for sure.
Russell doesn't want to see any heroes in this game. I want to see both these teams lose.
But I do know one thing.
Sounds like Russell likes underdogs.
Is where you are is where I want to be. You going? Go ahead, talk sports.
Brady, all I ask is a good game. He's got no emotional buy-in. Sounds like you. He wants a good game. He's got no emotional buy-in.
No, I'll be rooting for Notre Dame.
Now you got a little emotional buy-in tonight.
Pops.
Yeah.
The great Beyond. Took my parents to Notre Dame, the wildest trip I've ever taken in my life.
I had a lot of crazy things happen.
Right from the start.
Came back with stories.
Right from the start. I flew them up here, and then we flew on Delta over there to Chicago, and I told them to stay right by the gate, and I'll come get you, and then I'll take you to the gate that we need to go to Chicago. Right from the start, from Phoenix to here, and I go to the gate, and they're not there.
Good times.
Oh, brother. One thing after another.
Is that the trip where you're in Chicago and your mom realizes that people in the store buying the Cubs gear know you?
Yeah.
Ain't that the bleep?
Across the store to my father. Yeah. I couldn't prepare them for
BYU fans are going to know who you are.
Yeah, because it's
and you're not the only one who flew to Chicago and then drove to the game.
Everybody did.
Right.
Maybe you went to Indy, but most folks take Chicago. So yeah, and the plane was packed, coming and going with BYU fans there. So yeah, I'm not really a hardcore fan, but if I had to choose. And growing up, Penn State was like the second team in the area because there's so many Italian people, and Paterno obviously was one of them, and so you had that going on. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see how it plays out, because it's hard to judge statistically. You look at like the pros. Oh, they're 27th in this rating and 14th in that rating. All right, I think it's more legitimate because the schedules are all basically the same. Your contemporaries are playing the same teams, basically the same amount. In college, it's just wildly different.
You don't have that common ground.
Yeah, and so you speak of, you look at Notre Dame and not throwing the ball. Well, if you're just pounding the ball on the ground, why would you throw it? And they've got 3 guys that ran for at least 700 yards. That's pretty good. And they're averaging. They got like 5 guys averaging over 5 yards a carry. What does that mean? Does that mean they're not that good at passing, or they just didn't have to pass it as much? And obviously, Penn State has got a great tight end. I mean, he might be the best tight end in the whole college game, in this Warren kid, and they feature him. You'll see him. He'll be featured right from the start. He really is a dynamic player for sure. And so you're looking at that and say, okay, well, they have the opportunity to throw him the ball. Yeah, so to get him the ball. But at the same time, they run the ball really well, too. I think they've got 2,000-yard rushers. But who are they playing? The Big Ten, I can argue, might be the most two-sided conference, meaning you got really good teams and you got really crappy teams.
So instead of two-sided, go with top-heavy.
No.
Okay.
Because
you got 3 great teams at the top, but nothing there.
But see, the SEC is top-heavy too, but those teams in the middle and at the bottom can get you. That's why I didn't go top-heavy, because that implies to me that the teams at the bottom have no shot.
So the Big Ten is a donut. There's nothing in the middle.
Well, you don't seem to get the upsets like we had this year with Vanderbilt and Oklahoma beating.
You had Michigan beating Ohio State, but after that,
but that's a rivalry game, man.
Right, and after that, Penn. There were 4 teams that didn't have bad losses. I mean, they just didn't. There were the 4 combined for 1 bad loss, and it was the rivalry game.
Which, the cliche on throwing the records out and that. They haven't beaten those guys in 4 years.
Well, Notre Dame is playing Kyle Whittingham-style football.
Yeah.
You can go to the point of comment. That defense doesn't give up points. There are 2 exceptions, so I shouldn't say doesn't give up points. A USC game went 49-35. That thing was high-scoring. And they had a 31-24 game with Louisville. But mostly, they're holding people to 10, 13, 14 points. And they held Georgia to 10 in the last playoff game.
But Texas was only averaging 13. The Devils put 28 on them in regulation. Especially, and when the game was on the line, they had no problem moving the ball. Funny, earlier in the game they had problem. Later in the game, but I just think my point is the college statistics comparing one to another, because they don't have all these common opponents. It seems like it's a little bit misleading or not accurate, not true. Do you really know what's going to happen when they get in that situation? There's no doubt that both these teams are good. I'm not saying that by any stretch.
They wouldn't be here.
Right.
And there's the whole thing, Notre Dame didn't play anybody, and look at their schedule. And even the Georgia Tech probably got a lot of respect because they battled Georgia pretty well. But
they had a decent season. Yeah.
They did, right. But you play Florida State, and they turn out not to be very good, and you're playing USC, and they turn out to be incredibly mediocre.
Yeah, but that's a rivalry game, too.
You play Purdue, and they're terrible. And they're playing 2 service academies. And those teams had good years.
This year.
Yeah, good years. Decent G5 teams. Good G5 teams. But still, I get why people said, no, who'd Notre Dame play? Why are they? Well, now they played 2 playoff games, and they did just fine, and the defense looked like it looked all year long. I mean, they did give up 17 to Indiana, but they only gave up 10 when it mattered. Indiana got a late one on them that didn't really impact
I don't
game.
look at their schedule and say they haven't proven anything because of the fact I have to include the 2 playoff games.
Oh, yeah. The playoff games, everyone stopped talking about that. At 11-1, it was a decent talking point, but now it's not.
And, to me, they always have one of the better schedules because they play USC. Now, they can't, it's not their fault if USC's up or down. Most of the time, historically, they're up. And then they usually play another good game, and they had Texas A&M. And, that's up to Texas A&M where they're up and down. And then they have the scheduling agreement with the ACC, so they get these teams. So what are you going to do? To me, it's if the teams aren't good that you play, that may not be your fault. Now, if you're like Rich Rod, he came on our air one time when they were playing BYU. And I don't want to play BYU. I basically said, I want 3 cupcakes.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
That's not the exact quote, but that's clearly what he meant.
Right.
And he wouldn't debate that with us now. Nope. I want 3 W's. Give me the wins and let's go.
Right. Well, if you don't do that, if you play a decent named team and they turn out not to be good, that's on them, not you.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. It's time for a turnaround. It's been time for a turnaround. It's getting worse, not better. What can be done? That's next.